thank you so much for joining me in this conversation. It's been very exciting to come here to Bhutan and tell some of my mathematical stories. But what I've been kind of finding out is that maybe there are some interesting connections between the Buddhist culture here in Bhutan and things that I'm interested in mathematically. And so I was very interested to ask you from a Buddhist perspective on some of the ideas that I'm fascinated in as a mathematician. And I wanted to start with the concept of nothing.
Okay.
Because nothing for me as a mathematician is very important. And it was actually quite a new discovery, the idea that mathematically we would have a symbol for nothing, the zero, and in modern mathematics, nothingness, what we call the empty set, a set with nothing in it, is actually the building block from which all of mathematics grows now. So now I think that nothing is, or emptiness is an important concept in Buddhism.
Yes,
I think it even has a name. Is it Sunyata?
Shunyata, yes.
So I'm interested to hear what, from a Buddhist perspective, what for you is nothing and emptiness and Sunyata?
Okay, yeah. So anyhow, first, thank you very much for inviting me here to talk with you. And I had the pleasure of listening to you a few days back in the banquet hall. Very fascinated with your mathematics, because I myself is not a mathematician, so I really don't know. Only we know how to count the numbers, but the language of mathematics we don't know. But coming back to your question, so yes, shunyata means nothingness, but in a way, nothingness means normally there is nothing which is not interdependent. Everything is based on something. That's why nothing is permanent. That is actually the meaning. So as a Buddhist, normally some Buddhists believe that we may claim, I don't say that we are, but the notion of the zero may be something to do with Buddhist notion of shunyata. Shunyata means just around nothing. So, because you know that zero is not a number. It is only a thing that we put together with a number, it multiplies. So I think that in our counting system, I think the zero, if it is discovered, whether by the Buddhists or whatsoever may be, was a great discovery to go on counting it. Because otherwise, as far as I know, like Romans, they had only 1 to go up to 10. After that, then you put the other things. So that's why I think that it is a great discovery. So I think that is what I may offer to you, your question. Yeah.
I think you're right that it was a great discovery, and it was quite a philosophical leap for mathematicians to think of having a number for nothing. That
Yes,
I think, as you say, the Romans, the Greeks, they thought numbers were for counting things.
Yes,
and if there is nothing there, why do you need a number? Yet in some ways, the concept of nothing in mathematics has revolutionized our subject. And in modern mathematics, we build numbers by starting with the empty set, and then we say, well, that's something. That nothing is something. And then to make the number 1, we actually take a set which contains the empty set. And this is, so the set which contains nothing is one thing.
Yes, I think,
and
yes.
so there's an interesting building.
Yes, yes. I think that like Buddhist, I think that we need this numbering, because as far as my knowledge goes, in modern counting, as we have, billions and trillions and all that, but in Buddhism, the numbers are much more. Because we always say to become a Buddha, it's not a day's job or a life's job. It is a job of many, many generations. So that's why we always say Buddhas, they became Buddha doing certain virtuous things for countless years. So there is a countless. So that means you should have a counting, you know.
Right.
Like where it is the countless. So that's why in Buddhism, we have a counting which can go up to 60 zeros.
Right.
So for the day-to-day use, we use only 9 zeros. That is up to billion.
Right.
That's why in our books we call it is a simple 9 numbers. So that means up to billion. We will say only 10, 1, 10, 100, then 200 is to go to 1,000, 10,000,
Yes.
that way. But after that, as per the metaphysics, because Buddhism, we believe that every science is based on the metaphysics. In the metaphysics, that after 9 zeros, then the counting starts with a normal 1, greater 1, then another 1, greater 1, so it goes on up to 60 zeros. After that, we said there is no number, there is no counting. So that shows, you know, that how
Fascinating.
much sorts of years you put together or anything. Yeah, so I think I should say it is a very great science which we have in our metaphysics. Yeah.
It's interesting that that's a very big number,
Yes.
one with 60 zeros.
Yes.
And as I understand it, Buddhism has long swathes of time, an eon, the time that it takes to become a Buddha is,
Yes,
as you say,
yes,
not one
yes.
day, not one life.
Yes, yeah.
But I'm interested, you actually mentioned the word countless. So for me as a mathematician, of course, I can go beyond 60 zeros because I can have 61 zeros.
But then I think that 61 zeros, what would you will call it?
Well, that's interesting
There
because...
should be a name, you know. Because that's why we say numbers are very important, by which we understand it.
That's very interesting.
So yeah, because yes, I can say yes, we will have 61 numbers, but then really there's no name, you know. Yeah.
So naming,
Naming,
is
yes,
important.
yeah, important, yeah.
Because certainly as a mathematician, I feel I can write that number down, and although I may find it difficult to give it a name,
Yes,
it would
yes.
go trillion, zillion.
Yes, because you say like trillion is, I don't know, maybe a million of million is trillion
yeah.
or something. But we have the names for each
Right.
number. So so
Well,
that
you might
goes
be interested in a name that we mathematicians have. So if you have 1 with 100 zeros, we have given this a name, and it's called a Google.
Oh, okay. So that may be a new name.
Yes, we've got, and you can go even further. So if you have a 1 with a Google number of zeros,
Okay.
that's a very big number.
Okay,
We
so
call
that
this a Googleplex.
Oh, I see. Yeah, but I'm not aware of it.
All right.
But we know only up to the 60 numbers. Yeah.
So I'm interested, having gone from nothing and zero, then what is Buddhism's kind of ideas about infinity then? Does infinity have some sort of role in Buddhism, something which is endless, something which doesn't have an end?
Yes, that is endless means that in Buddhism we normally say there's no end, there's no beginning. It goes on and on.
Right.
Till somebody becomes a Buddha. So that maybe then you become a Buddha. Otherwise we die and go on their life after lives. So it is, there is many, many eons.
Right.
So that's why I think in Buddhism it is important that if you read Bhutanese, textbooks, Buddhism, the numbers are very important. Because when you go into a meditation, there's numbers you have to count how many times the mantra you have to chant. And that all depends upon how many syllables you have in that mantra, and according to that you have it. That's why, the numbers are important. And also that when you come to the poetry or even the astrology, it is so advanced that some of the numbers have a poetry way of describing it. Because if you make a poetry with 1, 2, 3, that same number may not sound well.
Right.
So then there are names, you may call it lexicon, which represents the numbers. For instance, 1 is just we say chi, that is 1. But in the poetry form, they may call it dawa, that means sun, this moon, there's only one moon. So when you put that way, the people understand it is 1. Or a seru. Seru means rhinoceros. They thought rhinoceros has only one horn, so it represents 1. And when you say like 2, you say ni, but then they call it tapshe, means the wisdom and the compassion put together means 2. Or sometimes they may say luck, means we have 2 hands. So like that it goes on. So it is a well-developed literature with all the numbers also having different connotations or names which can be used when you write some poetry or astrological books. Yeah, so it is quite advanced, I would say. Yeah.
It's interesting. I think that when I'm doing mathematics, very often I feel I'm going into a very abstract world, and it requires quite an act of meditation to achieve forgetting the physical world around me, to explore ideas of mathematics. I feel has a feeling of that hard act of meditation, and actually the kind of ritual of going through numbers and things helps me to get to this rather abstract place.
Yeah, I think, yes, like in Buddhism also, that normally we say that, yes, if you do something like this, the virtue is so great that it is almost beyond countless. There, even in many books you would find, like Buddha said, you can count the sands of a Ganges river, but you may not count. You can't count the merit somebody earned with a devotion, with a good motivation. So
Right.
that is, it is quite a thing, which normally we always talk about.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's very interesting. In mathematics, we discovered there isn't just one sort of infinity, but there are many sorts of infinity, some bigger than others. And for me, this was one of the most extraordinary discoveries made at the end of the 19th century, that infinity isn't just something countless, but you can even, with a mathematical mind, compare different sizes of infinity. In fact, there are infinitely many infinities.
Yes, that is exactly what I said, that in many of the textbook books which Buddha referred, that if you do this, the merit which you earn cannot be counted, although the sands of a river Ganges may be counted. Yeah.
Right, yes. Yeah. You mentioned time. I think time is an interesting idea mathematically and in physics. Modern physics has this idea of a beginning, of a Big Bang, and I think many people feel, well, if there was a beginning, then there's things start then, and I think they feel like time will go on forever. But as I understand, Buddhism has a different story to tell.
I think that once you are born, the death is there. Yeah,
Right.
in Buddhism. So that's why we say, that anything is put together will fall apart.
Right.
Once you are born, the death starts.
Right.
So that's why, that, it goes on and on. Yeah, Life goes on and on. As we are with our physical body, it's only for a temporary.
Right.
But the mental awareness, which the Hindus call it Atma, Buddhists we call it Bhagyapati, mental awareness, that goes on and on till you become a Buddha. Yeah.
Right. And what about going back in time? Have we always, is it an infinite cycle in the past, or as well as into the future, do you think?
I think that you can go back also because we talk about the 1,000 Buddhas.
Yes.
So the Gautama Buddha, which we are talking today, who taught us or who introduced the Buddhism, what we are today practicing over 2,600 years back, is not only the Buddha. We have past 3 Buddhas, and there is yet 996 Buddhas yet to come. So yes, of course, you can go back for these 3 Buddhas earlier. There are records saying that how long he lived, what are the lifespan of that time, and what is the lifespan of this Buddha's time, and what will be the next. So everything has been written there. Yeah.
There are news stories in physics that the Big Bang was not the start of things, but there was a sort of universe before the Big Bang. And actually we now understand that time will have an end, and that end might be the beginning of a new time. That so do you see,
yes, we always say also yes,
right.
that will again come back. Of course, like today we talk about the global warming. Same thing in Buddhism also. We say that this eon, that is a very long, 100,000 years long, we say that the last, when all this Buddha, 1,000 Buddhas born, the last when this, whether you call it universe, will disintegrate is because of the heat. There is just referring the measure of the heat.
right?
They said that time the measure of the heat is as if 7 suns shining together. So that means we can imagine how hot it will be. So that will burn and then disintegrate, and then another will come. So this eon which we are talking is called the eon of the fortunate 1,000 Buddhas, because the people knew that this eon will have 1,000 Buddhas to appear.
Ah.
Of course, it will be millions years later, yeah, but it is there, yeah.
And I think in physics too, we know that it will be billions of years before the end of time. Another thing I was interested in, mathematics, I believe, doesn't necessarily need a physical realization, that it's something that is an abstract thing of the mind, and it is almost formless. I believe the world around us is a kind of physical version of mathematics, but I feel mathematics is something that is timeless, and it doesn't have a physical reality. We talk about a Platonic idea. And I read in Buddhism about these different realms that we have. And there seem to, if I'm right, there are 31 realms of existence.
You mean 6 realms, yeah?
Right,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
there are some very high ones
Yes,
which
yes,
are called formless.
Formless, and yes, we have it. What we are today is called the with form, with a desire, and it goes up.
Right, and that you're aspiring for
Yes,
the
yes,
formless.
yeah, formless, yes. Yeah.
And if I understand it, there's a sphere of infinite space.
Yes, for that I think the best would be that if you visit one of our zones, maybe Paro zone, there is one, what we call it the universal kind of mandala, and a similar one is in Timbu zone also. So there you can see what is the Buddhist view of the universe.
Right.
There's the sea, and then the Sumeru, which is in the center. Of course, our view is different from what the modern has. And then 4 continents, 8 subcontinents, and then there's 7 mountains, 7 seas, and then sun and moon. So as long as there's 4 stages where we call it the with form, with desire. After that, then formless, it goes up. So I think it would be ideal if maybe somebody or you can photograph it, and then you will understand what is the Buddhist view of the universe, And the next you may find there is the movements of the stars, which also explains to you why we have these 12 months and how the seasons are hot and cold, because the movement goes that way. So sometimes it is long days, short days, more heat, less heat. Yeah, so it is interesting. So I think the cosmic mandala, we call it. So I think that would be interesting for you to
I think it
go
will
and
be, yes.
see it. Yeah,
So I'm wondering whether, I'm always trying to achieve a sense of sort of mathematical enlightenment,
Yes, yes,
which is formless, and I
yes,
wonder
yeah.
whether that's right at the limit.
Yes, yes. Because if you see like Buddhist philosophy, I think in the Buddhist philosophy, they never thought that numbers are just science, it is a calculation.
Yes.
But that's why there is a saying in somewhere, I think it was Nagarjuna, who said astrologer sitting on the ground, which is thousands and thousands of kilometers away from the sky, he can predict you what is going to happen after a few months or after years, like a solar eclipse or moon eclipse.
Yes.
But he said it is not a wisdom, but it is a calculation.
Right.
It is not a spirituality. That's why he said the astrologer sitting in that same room, he has the wisdom eye to see what is happening to the next room. That he may not know. But with this calculation, he can tell you what is happening. That's why we say the calculation is the numbering calculation is an art, science, by which you know what is going to happen. Yeah.
I think that's very consistent. I often say that mathematics is our best tool for predicting the future, because you see the patterns up till now and you read what the pattern says will happen next. That's how we know about climate change, because we can see that pattern.
Because I think the number is important to show how big it is, how large it is. That's why, like in Buddhism, we always talk about 84,000 teachings.
Right.
There's a project coming up, which is the translation of all the Buddha's teachings, because we believe that Buddha taught us 84,000 different teachings. Of course, today, if you ask somebody, what are these 84,000? It may not be easy to count. Yeah. But we say that 21,000 teachings are meant or good for overcoming your ignorance, another 21,000 to overcome your anger, and another 21,000 for your discipline, and then another 21,000 is miscellaneous. So
miscellaneous.
So it is a quite interesting idea. You know?
Yes. Yeah.
So we always talk Buddha's this 84,000.
That's quite a lot. Really.
Yes, yes.
I'm interested that you talked about impermanence, and that I think is an important concept, that nothing lasts, or are there things that are permanent? Because mathematically, I feel that the one thing that will last is maybe a mathematical discovery that I've made. That I will die, but the mathematics I leave behind will be there forever. But is that just an arrogant belief?
I really don't think anything is really that way permanent.
No?
Because it is changes. Permanent change means, say, today we met. Tomorrow, if I say I met you in the same place, same man, me, but in Buddhist view, it is not the same. Because already some time passed, you are changed, I am changed, and the time is changed. That's why we say that you will never have a bath in the same river, because river is going, you are changing it. Even a flower in front of us, we say, oh, this is the same flower yesterday. But real Buddhist philosophical terminology, it is not the same. The flower little bit decayed, but you don't see it. Myself is little bit to become older. So the time is very important,
Well, I look forward to my next trip to Bhutan and our change. And when we meet again, we will both be different. Maybe I'll know a little bit more Buddhism, you a little bit more maths,
Yes, I
and
hope so.
we'll make a little bit further on our
Yes,
way
I
to
think,
enlightenment.
yes, I'm
Yeah.
looking for that.
Great.
And very great.
Yeah, thank you so
very
much for the
nice
lovely
talking to you.
conversation.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.